I'm Bob Trask. You've tuned into our weekly reset. Thanks for coming on board. Today we're going to talk about joy. Now, that might sound like a little bit of a frivolous topic to you, but boy, oh boy, I'm excited about it because joy is the platform from which we make everything in our life that's worthwhile happen. Stick with me. We're going to see how that works. Right now, let's do a quick meditation, shall we? If you'll just close your eyes, begin breathing gently through your nose, and to know that you're breathing the presence of the universe, the intelligence, the wisdom, the creative power, the creative energy, the very life of the universe is going into you and becoming you. So with every breath going in gently through your nose, see that, if you will, going into your lungs as grace, being sent from your lungs out to your body, through all of the thousands of miles of blood vessels into the 100 trillion cells, and waking them up, each of them, waking them up and putting a smile on their little faces, and having them look over at the other cells around them and joining in unity, so that they're all singing in harmony throughout your entire body. 100 trillion cells singing in harmony. And one great chorus of peace and health and well-being. The great spirit is flowing through you. That great spirit of the entire universe, of all places, in all times, and all spaces, being one with you. You are loved, so loved, because you are unique. You're the only one of you that ever has or ever will exist. And the universe sees that and knows that. And you are blessed in your individuality, in your specialness, in your genius. You're blessed. No one else can create what you create. No one, no one. And you're safe. You're being protected. You needn't worry. The divinity of this universe, the great beloved presence, has your back. And you're free. You're free to be you. So when you come back to us, bring this self with you, because this is who you really are. Continue to breathe gently, 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 all during this talk, knowing that you're breathing the presence, the divine presence of the great Creator. Thank you. So we're on the third Sunday of Advent. If you don't know what that means, it's just the 4 Sundays that lead up to Christmas. And each one of them is really special. And this is Gaudete Sunday. And Gaudete is a Latin word that means joy or joyfulness. Gaudete Sunday, the Sunday of joyfulness. This week is dedicated to the experience and the expression of joy. You know, joy is not happiness. Happiness is an expression of joy. But happiness is a reaction to something that happens. But joy is a state of being. It depends almost entirely on gratitude. Joy depends on gratitude. If I'm seeing what's in my life, if I'm seeing the magnificence of this life that I'm living, of the mountains with their snow-covered peaks and the grand trees rising up and the distance between the trees and those divine sacred spaces. And if I can see that and feel that, the dimensions of reality around me, then I have to be grateful, don't I? And that gratitude, that gratefulness allows me to go into joy. But that gratitude depends almost entirely on acceptance. Excuse me. See, when I look around and I see those mountains and I see the rivers and the snow, and when I see the trees, then it's one thing to see them. It's another thing to become one with them, to allow them to be me, to allow that magnificence to come into me. Like, here's an example. I mean, I'm a chocoholic. I got to admit that to you. So when I eat a piece of dark chocolate, now, if I take a piece of really delicious dark chocolate and I put it on my tongue and push it up against the roof of my mouth, I kind of go a little bit crazy. While I'm holding that on the roof of my mouth, what I want to do is swallow. Why swallow? Because I want to get rid of that experience. The experience is too great for me. I dare you, just keep holding it there. I dare you. Your whole body goes crazy. Your whole body goes crazy. You just hold it there, and the flavor blends into your brain, and you just go, "Oh, I can't believe this is so beautiful." It's like a spiritual orgasm. But see, that's available for us not only through taste, but through sight, through being able to see the dimensions between things, to see space itself, and to feel the magnificence of space. And hearing, oh my God, to hear music. I listen to some of the great masters, and I'm not a classical music buff or a jazz buff. I know so little about that. But when I listen to great orchestras and I say, that's the violin, okay, and that's the piccolo, that's the oboe, that's the bass, that's the piano, and I think to myself, who sat down and wrote this? I understand that Handel, when he was writing the Hallelujah chorus, when he was writing the Messiah, he was sitting just writing without a piano, and he was weeping as he was writing that because it was flowing through him. Now we talk about Beethoven, Brahms, Schubert. We can talk about Michelangelo and Leonardo da Vinci and Rodin and Monet and Picasso and Pissarro and all of those, and Van Gogh, all those incredible creators. And none of them was creating out of their brain. None of them, not one of them. They all knew how to surrender. They all knew how to become one with acceptance of that divinity flowing through them, to allow it to be in them as them, and to be grateful, to feel the gratitude for that. which opens all the doors, doesn't it? It opens all the chutes and the channels, the hallways, and it allows that to just flow through. And then you have things like the Alleluia chorus, or the Ave Maria by Schubert or by Gounod, or one of the other great, incredible pieces of music. So many I could just talk about. The Meditation from Thais, which my dear friend Anne played on her violin for her graduation. It's just heartbreakingly beautiful. Or the Swan. I mean, all of those things, the music, the art. Mary and I went to a Russian art gallery, and we were walking, and you know how you go through an art gallery. Oh, that's a nice painting. Oh, yeah, it's a nice painting. And we were going along, and there was a large painting of a guy just in a suit with a vest, just a sort of a stern portrait painting. And we walked by it, and something struck me, and I went back and looked at it. the vest had wide collars that went down like this. Those, if you looked closely, those were one brush stroke. You could see that. You could see the stroke here and a stroke here. That's it, done. The collars, the rest of it, a stroke here, a stroke there. The vest itself had little kind of flower things on it, a spot, just a dab of paint, dab here, dab here, dab here. The buttons, a little different color dab. You back off 5 feet from it, and it, oh my God. Oh my God. See, here's what happens. And this is what happens with like, I'm not, like I said before, I'm not a jazz buff, but I have this meditation where I go into my higher mind. I go above the top of my body into my higher mind, which is some people call the 8th chakra. And I go up and I can go up into my higher mind. And if I hear jazz, but I listen, but I pretend that I have ears in my higher mind, and I hear that music coming in there, and then it comes down into me. Oh man, I'm telling you, I'm experiencing the composer. I'm experiencing the passion of the composer, and I'm experiencing the passion of the musician, the saxophonist or the pianist. I'm feeling what they're feeling. That's joy. That's joy. That's the presence of God. That's the only thing that life is worth living for. The great theologian, the great philosopher, T.L. de Chardin, who was one of my heroes, said, the only evidence of God is joy. The only evidence of God is joy. So joy is not happiness, is it? It's happiness is the expression of joy. Joy is a state of being, and it depends on gratitude. Gratitude depends on acceptance, and acceptance depends on allowance. The famous British theologian C.S. Lewis said, joy is the serious business of heaven. Joy is the serious business of heaven. So let's look more carefully at this. Let's just look a little bit more carefully at this. When we go back to our childhoods, some of us had really horrendous childhoods filled with abuse and abandonment, maybe bullying, maybe alcoholism. So then if I ask you to go back to your childhood, sometimes all you can do is remember those awful memories. But I want to tell you that, and I had a pretty rough childhood too. But if you go back to your childhood and you look at those memories, you're not really seeing what happened there. You're not really seeing the truth of that. Because life isn't a snapshot, and my memories are snapshots. They're pictures of my childhood. I remember this, and I remember when Dad did this, and I remember this, and I remember this Easter when this happened. And so you can kind of remember those snapshots, but that's not your childhood. If I go to a river, if I walk down to the river and I take out my cell phone and I take a picture of the river and then I turn around in my gallery and I look at that picture, there's the river and there's the picture of the river. Are they not the same thing? That river that I took a picture of, that's not that river anymore. That river's gone because the river's changing. It's reweaving and it's moving all the time, and it's moving and it's becoming, it's creating as it moves. And your childhood was a river. And who you are right now, the wisdom, the brilliance you have came from your experiences, some of them negative, but those experiences built you, built the wisdom within you. And around those, because you were a child, and children are joy. And I know some of us got hammered so that the joy was fleeting, but it was still there underneath all that. And I remember, this is the Christmas season right now. If you're watching this on YouTube at some other time, this is the Christmas season. And I'll tell you, when I was a kid, there was a lot of craziness and chaos going on in my world. But the adults, for some reason, I didn't understand it, but for some reason, when you got into December and you started moving up into the Christmas season, there was something happened to the adults. They started talking to each other with a different flow in their voices. They started talking to the kids, to me, with a different flow in their voices. There was a magic that was in the air. Something happened. What happened was the birth of joy. Some say it is the birth of Jesus. Well, Jesus was actually born in the spring, but it's okay. We celebrate his birth at this time of year. But what was actually being born was joy. Peace on earth, goodwill to men, joy to the world, joy. And that joy was permeating society, permeating the air. Everywhere I looked, there was joy. Can we bring that back? Can you bring that back into your life? That this God, that day is this season of Sunday, this season of joy, this Sunday of joyfulness. Can you take those snapshots of your childhood and put them in a drawer and close the drawer and go back and not try to remember what you were like as a child? I rather would have you do this, is know that you are still that child. That child didn't die. Did the child die? Are you still here? You're still here. You're still joy. Excuse me. You are still joy. You're still that child. You have a bigger body now. And you have what you think of as some responsibilities. But listen to me. Beyond your responsibilities, beyond your obligations, there's you, the creator, the joyful, powerful, all-powerful creator of reality. Everything in your life as a result of your decisions and choices that you make. Everything, 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 everything. Nothing happens to you that you can't go back and say, I made this decision and therefore this chain of events happened. If you change that decision, a different chain of events would happen. So be accountable for the decisions you made that brought about the life you're living, and continue to make decisions from joy so that the reality that you create will be joy, will be joyful. And your life will be like a teeming ocean, like a wind across a field of wildflowers. And you will be a child again. And it says in the scriptures, child shall lead the way. The nature of nature is joy. If we would just see that the nature of nature. Let me use trees, for example. And you've heard me do this so many times. Forgive me if it's redundant. But trees do only one thing. That's only one thing. They reach for the light. They don't do anything else. They just reach for the light. And in reaching for the light, they become beautiful. The barks on trees, oh my God, they are just so filled with character. And if you just would sit for 5 minutes and just look at the bark on a tree and don't look away, you would discover beauty that you never saw before. Dimensions, colors, depths of color that you never saw before, that you never recognized before. The tree itself, the branches, and all it does is reach for the light. What if we just reached for the light? What if we just reached for the light every day? Reached for joy. Reached for that great presence of the universe, which is joy. Reach for God, which is joy. Reach for God, which is love. There isn't any other God than love, than joy. What if we just reached for that every day? And like I just learned today something really interesting, and that's that if a tree is up here reaching for the light, then over here is a bush, and over there's a flower, and over there are some weeds. We human beings, we judge people who are not like us. They have different religions, or they're different colors, different nationalities. They're Russians, they're Iraqis, they're Iranians, they're Jews, they're Muslims. We see all of those people as being different. Trees don't look around and see all those others as being different, because what are they doing? Every one of those is reaching for the light. The flowers, the weeds, the bushes, everything is reaching for the light. And they do it in their own way. And we all do it in our own way. So acceptance and allowance allows us to be in gratitude and to see everything that is as the way it's supposed to be. And that we are not just happenstance. We're not just some mistake, some fluke of nature. We each have individual value. Individual value. We came into this arena, this playground, this parkland to grow, to grow God. To grow God. Boy, I'm telling you, that's got to be a shocking and controversial statement that I just made. But I got to say it. We came here to grow God because the great Spirit, Holy Spirit, the great power, the great collective consciousness, the one Creator, the beloved of all universes in all times, that presence, not a man, not a woman, but a presence is in the creation. And we are the only ones of all the creation that have the ability to imagine a reality and then create that reality. That's how special you are. And because you're unique, because only you have your thumbprints and your fingerprints and your neuronal prints and your eye prints and your voice print, because you're so unique, only you can create what you can create. Only you can imagine what you can imagine. So your sensors, your smell, your taste, your hearing, your sight, all of those are the sensors of God, the Holy Spirit. So what you experience is God experiencing that. What you express is God expressing that. And when you're in joy and you're flowing with that great presence, with that great collective consciousness, with that great wisdom, when you're flowing with that, then you are God. And then you're directly translating the joy and the power and the beauty of this universe. The negative and the positive, the good and the bad, the up and the down, the right and the wrong, the high and the low, the dark and the light, all of it in its contrasting, all is flowing as energy, as wisdom and joy from you into the heart of the universe. That's how important you are. That's how valuable you are. But we can't do it unless we have faith, can we? We can't do it unless we trust. We can't do it unless we know that we're doing the right thing, that who we are and what we're doing. We have to be able to be incarnations of that intelligence, of that loving divine light, become its fingers, its ears, its eyes, its taste buds. And what we experience then is being simultaneously experienced by that beloved presence. And that's how it grows. That's how it flows through the experiences and the expressions of itself as its creatures. Young Christopher McCandless, who lived his life for adventure, said the joy of life comes from our encounters with new experiences, and hence there is no greater joy than to have an endlessly changing horizon, for each day to have a new and different sun. To not say, let today be like yesterday, or yesterday to be like the day before. Please, God, don't let tomorrow be another today. Let it be different. Let it be different. Joseph Campbell, one of the great philosophers and one of my heroes, said, find a place inside where there's joy, and the joy will burn out the pain. The joy will burn out the pain. And you know, sometimes it's hard to be in joy. Sometimes it's difficult because we're addicted to our darkness. We're addicted to our pain because that's who we think we are. And we've forgotten who we are. We've forgotten that we're basically joy. We've forgotten that that's our nature. So we have to practice joy, because we've developed the habit of worrying, of doubting ourselves, and of doubting our friends, and of doubting the world, and in doubting our own boundlessness, our own infinite boundlessness. We've left ourselves as blessed children behind and allowed ourselves to become lost in a world of deception, false promises. Didn't Jesus say the kingdom of heaven is of God is within you? Didn't he say that? And didn't Buddha say we're shaped by our thoughts? We become what we think. When the mind is pure, joy follows like a shadow that never leaves. Weren't they both saying, don't look for joy outside of you? You are joy. Just wake up. And Dietrich Bonhoeffer, the great German theologian, said, gratitude changes the pangs of memory. Gratitude changes the pangs of memory into tranquil joy. Gratitude. Every single thing in my life and in your life is a gift from the river of life. And the more we're in gratitude, and the more we give thanks and appreciation for the amazing world we live in, the more joy we'll find in our hearts, until at last we become joy again. And then all parts of life, the bitter and the sweet as well, will sing in harmony in our hearts. One of the wisest men who ever lived, a guy who oh man, if I could just sit down and have a cup of tea with him and talk and listen to him, Ralph Waldo Emerson. They called him Waldo. Waldo said, the joy of your spirit is the indication of your strength. So you want things, you have needs. I'll tell you, Mary and I were riding in the car the other day, and she said something, and it was so powerful. I wrote it down. I want to read it for you. When the need is greater than my self-doubt, then it becomes my driving force. When my need is greater than my self-doubt, then my need becomes my driving force. So when you make your need greater than your self-doubt, I can tell you what happens. When that self-doubt dissolves, what's left in its place is joy, the power of the universe, allowing you to create the reality you want, no matter what it is. I don't care how far out it seems. You can create it. You can do it. Today is the day of joy. Let's make a commitment here on this day to become joy itself. And then we will know our value. And our living will have purpose and meaning. Thank you. Thank you for being with me and joining me on this reset week where we come together every week to get our new week going. Thank you for joining me. If this has been meaningful for you, would you mind going to bobtrask.com, my website, and leaving a donation in order for us to keep these resets going? And bring friends next week. Thank you. I love you. And if you want to hang around for a little bit, we're going to have a discussion for the next half hour about joy and about how this season of Christmas can change our lives. So stick with us. And if you have to go, I understand. Bless you. I love you.